So, a word of caution, there's 2 elevators in the facility. You'll notice one is a public elevator and one is the keyed or key fobbed elevator. If you go in the one that's key fobbed, you need a key, the doors will shut and you will not move. You'll have to push the alarm and somebody will physically have to come get you. So,
With you, we're not going in that one.
we will go in that one, but I'll be with you.
There, John.
Well, I'll be with you.
Good.
Yep.
You're the buildings and grounds
Yeah,
guy,
right.
And he could probably show you the cubby holes where the people hide at, but
Yeah, I can show you a few things.
People hide.
you'll be surprised. I was assigned to the patrol division up until 2008. From 2008, I moved into the detective division. I was the unit supervisor for the Mid-Arctic Task Force for the 4-county area, Marshalltown, Grundy, and Hardin County. So I worked undercover narcotics for quite a few years. In the middle of 2014, I was assigned as jail administrator. Before that, my involvement in the jail was if they had an unruly prisoner, if we had somebody that needed extracted, or if I had a civil process to serve an inmate. That would be the only reason that I would go into the jail. My first week was just trying to figure out where I was at. After being an employee here for 14 some years, I would still get lost. So there's been a little bit of cross training that since I went over there, I've seen where we can help each other out through the divisions. The Marshall County Sheriff's Office has 3 divisions: the jail and buildings and grounds, the civil office, and then the patrol division and transportation division. So we try and cross-train in each one of the divisions. We try and make sure that we're as efficient as we can. For instance, a patrol deputy has a civil paper that he knows that individual is in the jail. We'll have him go over and actually go into the housing unit, so he knows the layout of the jail and actually face-to-face with the jail employees and the inmates, and gets to know who is in our facility.
Now, what do you mean by the housing? Who's in jail? In their
Yes.
cell?
Yep. And we have a housing officer. A housing officer is assigned to each one of the housing units. We have 8 housing units. And when we get into the control center, you'll be able to see the kind of the layout and which housing area is where. We have a male general population. We have a maximum security, a male maximum security, female general population, female maximum security. We have a special status. Usually we use that sexually deviant or high-risk prisoners, or our juveniles is what we're utilizing it now. And then we have minimum security north and minimum security south. Those are our less violent prisoners. A lot of times our federal prisoners, our detainees, that's where they're held. They're held here on administrative reasons. They're less violent, and I say a lot more manageable as a prisoner. So we do have those units. And there is actually a housing officer in each one of those units that handles the problems in there. One of the things is through the hiring process, we require at least a minimum 4-hour job shadow. We would typically like them to spend 8 hours here. That's prior to employment. That's to give them an idea on what we deal with, what the duties are. And we've had individuals show up here. They've passed the physical, they've passed the aptitude testing, they've passed the interview process. They come for the job shadow and they say, I don't want to work here. I just can't deal with inmates. They don't realize what it takes physically and mentally to deal with some of the problems that society has. And then I'll kind of give the disclaimer. We try and prevent anything that may occur as far as any nudity, yelling, swearing. We try and prevent that as much as we can. Sometimes we can't control some of the outbursts. If there is an emergency, we'll know by radio, and what we'll do is we'll just move quickly to an area, just in case some of us have to respond to emergencies. So things change quite dramatically sometimes. Fights are rare, knock on wood, but there is. at our duty stations, we have a team that responds to control that situation. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into the control room on different types of situations that we have and how we handle those. Probably our biggest problem is contraband. If you are arrested for a simple misdemeanor, by code, we cannot search you. We cannot physically search you unless you are admitted into the jail. So we do have contraband that come in. We do a pretty good job of checking. Basically, a pat-down search is what we're allowed to do. If you are held here in this jail 24 hours or on bond, you are required, that's when you start the intake process. That means you get a shower. Your property is inventoried. All of the clothing is washed and stored in inmate property storage. It's accounted for, it's logged. And then they have a hygiene issue. We basically issue basic hygiene to the inmates and clothing. That's kind of where it starts, and we'll go through that once we get down into the jail site. So we'll kind of go through that process. But I think we're ready to go. And some of you may notice this is part of the old jail cell from the South 2nd Avenue. It's more or less a nostalgia. As you'll see when we go into the facility, this is what people think jail is.
Yes, right, in our opinion.
So, I'll take the first group down, Lucas, because I don't think they'll all fit in here. What I'll do is I'll go to visitation, and then we'll go in the public courtroom. We'll kind of go from there. Come on in.
Will you get out this side or?
We will be going out the front here. You can get out both sides. That'll kind of the kitchen area.
Have you seen it?
As many people as want to squeeze on there.
Oh, okay. Is she coming?
Okay.
She didn't mind.
4,000 pounds.
There's
only 2 people.
I think she's a little claustrophobic, so we'll
I do too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
so we'll let her get some air on the way down. This is the elevator that you don't want to get stuck in without a key. So.
As long as they're not over 20 people and everybody weighs 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And we'll step out and go to the right.
200, yeah.
We're not on the ground floor, I know that. But we're feeling-
Yes, we.
We're probably on second.
We're on the ground floor.
Oh, we are?
We are on the ground floor.
Okay.
We'll start.
Oh, right, it's on a different elevator.
We'll kind of start over here. And if you guys want to go off and down the hallway, this is the jail public entrance. This is where a lot of the public comes to. Off down the hallway is our visitation. We have video visitation for inmates. What they have to do is they have to be an approved visitor. Everybody gets signed up. The inmate has to request to see that person. Once that person is approved, that means we make sure there is no contact orders between the individuals. There's no wants and warrants. They're not prohibited to see each other. What they do is they sign up for visitation. Visitation hours are from 8 a.m. till 9 o'clock at night. And what they do is they come in, they check in, and they go down the hallway, and you'll see booths. There's 7 video booths. And what we do is when an inmate wants to have visitation, we don't remove them from their housing unit. They will actually go to a video camera in a booth, and it's a 2-way video visitation. So we don't have to move the inmates from their housing units. It's more efficient that way. Yeah, you can go on down and look. And then you notice we do take donations from a lot of different agencies for family members that have children. A lot of times we need to keep the children occupied while they're visiting their family members. So we do have books and stuffed animals, and we encourage those families that need some of those supplies to take those with them. And we'll come down into the public viewing area.
Like this
Should be an electric chair in there.
This, folks, is what we call our public visitation room. They can see the court proceedings. All the proceedings are public information. Anybody wants to come out and see initial appearances can do so through its audio, through the TV. It's broadcasted. This is in this next room over here is what we call our courtroom. It's all done by video. Unless we do have some Department of Correction, probation officers, from judges. If you have a parole violation or probation violation, a lot of times they will come out to our facility and they'll hold their hearings in person, and this is where that happens out here, if they have a parole or probation violation. It's bulletproof glass, as you know. All the windows on the first floor are all bulletproof. So we've taken those precautions. A lot of this was repurposed from the old jail. So. Once we're finished here, we'll kind of go around and about, and we'll step in here and we'll actually kind of look at the room. But the courtroom, all the court proceedings occur at 8:30 if you're arrested. This is where an individual has their initial appearance in front of the judge. And when I talk about the initial appearance, this is where their charges are read to them by the judge, explained, and then they either released on their own recognizance and a court date is set. They can plead guilty on simple misdemeanors, or they're required to post a bond, either cash or a surety. We do have a list of, when we talk about surety bonds, we do have a list of certified bondsmen in our booking area, and from there they're able to arrange those. And this is where the actual bondsmen come to meet with the client to fill out those bond paperwork to post their bond. If they are released, they'll go back into the booking area. They're checked out from our booking area. Their property is given back to them, and they're escorted out the prisoner release door, which is just on the outside, so they don't come through the public. If they're held, that's where we start the intake process, and they get their room. They go through classifications. Everybody starts out at level 5. That means they're held 23 hours in a cell under constant supervision, and they're let out 1 hour a day. What that is, it's for staff to monitor to see how they're adjusting to confinement. A lot of times we get individuals that have substance abuse issues. They may be violent, they may be going through withdrawals. That gives nursing staff a chance to go ahead and assess them. And then if they've had any disciplinary, or if they have, depending on their severity of their crime, we classify that individual, and they start going through their levels where they're out more and more each time. It usually takes about 5 days to go through levels if they haven't had any problems. So we do have an inmate commissary. If you're held here for longer than 24 hours, we set up an inmate account. That means it's your own bank account. It's like their own banking system. What that is family members or the inmate can transfer their money that they come in with, or they can have family members, or they can transfer money from their bank account to their commissary. And that's used to purchase extra food if they want, approved hygiene products. They can buy phone cards, anywhere from subscriptions. They're allowed to have 2 subscriptions to like a newspaper, magazine, and things of that nature. A lot of times they'll use it to buy Snickers, candy bars, snacks. They like their snacks. And you might ask how they get that, family members get that on there. There is actually a kiosk out here in the jail lobby where they actually put cash in. They can use a credit card. You can go online and access the inmate's account. If they have that information, they can actually put the money on their account. So it's quite the system. We do have a barber. If they want a haircut, they come out, they get a $13 haircut. The females don't get perms. The beautician stops there. So, but if they want a haircut, we do provide that services to them. When we talk about phone cards, they purchase a phone like they would like a phone card. They purchase that with their money, either $5, $10, or $15 phone card. We have, and you can see it's being broadcasted. From the microphone. They can purchase phone cards to call their family members or loved ones or anybody they would like. Their attorney calls are free. They're not charged for that. But the telephones are located in the housing units, so they really don't have to leave that housing unit. And I believe there's 4 for each unit, north and south, and one. So they do have those. Mail, like I said, mail. We do provide those mail services, ingoing, outgoing mail. Trying to think what else. Lost my train of thought, but I'll think about it. They do have a computer opportunity for legal materials. We do have a law library. It kind of also is secondary to our chapel, our church. And basically it's the Iowa code, and there's some federal code statutes on there. Other than that, and they have to put in a request to use that computer. We control everything ingoing and outgoing. As we work through the facility, you'll see we have visitation rooms for their client, for the attorneys, for the defense attorneys to come in and visit with their client. It is not barrier-free. We don't allow barrier-free visitations. There's always a barrier between the public and the inmate, so we don't allow that. That's kind of the way we do things with the visitation, and then the attorney-client visitation booths. There's not barrier-free. There's no public contact.
Well, the way you have it set up for the visitation, there's no way they can see
No,
from anything
no.
under. That's what we said.
Yeah.
That's
Probably
really-
yeah.
That's really good.
The worst thing that we try and monitor is if every now and then we kind of, obviously, if people go to great lengths to do things, we'll get some nudity exchange between the two, and we monitor that as we try and get that knocked out and controlled as much as we can. But they also, with that, there's also violations and sanctions if they violate those rules. We basically have our own sanction list. If you do A, the penalty's going to be B, and there's penalties for that. So it's basically a whole community right in here. So it's.
I don't want to be here.
And,
Visitations taped.
yes, they are. Yes, they are. So.
A good place not to come and visit.
That's right. That's right. A tour is a good place to see. Yeah, yeah. But we can move on around to the courthouse.
Yeah, I guess
And
you're right that way. I didn't mean it that way. I won't get no trouble.
Oops, right in front of the camera.
Now, this is part of the original building, you said?
yes, it is.
Yeah, this is a big kitchen. Bunch of people.
For those of you that are familiar, this is the original county home kitchen, the facility. You'll notice that some of the appliances have been upgraded, obviously. This is where the meals are prepared by our inmate kitchen trustees and our food director and part-time staff. When I talked about the original cutting board, that's where bread is made, handmade every day. All the bread is made here, in-house. And you folks can walk around.
If they got bread and water, it'd sure be good bread.
Yeah. One thing that I found out when I came over to the jail division is being one of the largest pork producing states in Iowa, we cannot serve pork. There's so many religions against it, so many allergies, which is, being that pork producing state, but anyway, it's
No bacon?
there is pork for the staff. We can order staff, so.
This is good. You don't want to get in trouble with
That's right.
jail. You will not have bacon.
And what we do is we don't use food for discipline. A lot of times what we do is we'll have individuals that are not happy, and they'll take and throw food at us. So to combat that is we basically give them what we call a loaf. The loaf it's their meal. We take and process it, and is actually put into and cooked out. The moisture is cooked out, and it's cooked into a loaf. But it's all their calories, it's all their nutritions. but it's in something that can't be thrown on individuals, used as a weapon or slip and fall. So it's not used for discipline. It's more or less for use for security and safety.
Who eats in those rooms back there? Is that
Oh yeah, we can go back in here. This is our staff dining area.
Okay, is the inmates you deliver to them?
Yes, the inmates are delivered on these carts. The inmates actually take the food down to the housing units. They eat in the housing units.
Well, what's this for then?
This is, we do charge the staff a price. Their meals aren't free.
This is for the staff.
This is for the staff.
okay.
For single meal tickets, $3.25, and generally there's a salad bar where you get salad and pastas and stuff like that. Usually it's cheeseburgers, pizza burgers. Sometimes we have some fish and
Fast food stuff.
usually that's what it is. Yeah. Wednesdays we try and have a meal where it's kind of what they call a special. It may be a baked cod or something like that. More of a nutritional instead of fast food, but that is available.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, this staff come through here, but all the inmates' meals are prepared in this area. All the inmates eat in their housing units. Yep, that's correct.
Do they have a different dining room there then?
Yeah, they have like what they call a common area. You'll kind of see they'll have metal tables. They don't move, and they all sit down and eat together. And you'll visualize it once we get up there. They eat at a certain time. They're finished at a certain time. It's structured. What we find out is a lot of individuals that come to our facility, there's not a lot of structure in their life. We try and provide that structure for them. One of the incentives that we have is I do a weekly administrative inspection. I go into each one of the housing units and I inspect the cleanliness of their housing unit where they live, and then I inspect their hygiene and make sure their needs are being met. I use that as an incentive. Is the winner will get to watch a movie. We'll go rent a movie on Netflix, and they get popcorn and Kool-Aid. So we use it as an incentive for them to clean, and so it's kind of a competition on Wednesdays. So some of the inmates in their housing units become very creative. We have some individuals that do origami, and they'll make their beds and they'll lay out certain religious quotes, some rules, and it's always entertaining to go through. And it kind of serves as a couple different things. We teach them how to take care of themselves, what's expected of them, and almost to be a better person in society. We've had the Department of Corrections actually come to us to see how we hold our inspections, and I don't know if they've done it yet, but they kind of want to implement that also in their transitioning from the halfway house. Once they leave here, sentence or from prison, they go to a halfway house. They kind of want to use that role to kind of show them how to live, how to clean, how to cook, and how to take care of themselves, basic needs. So we try and use it as a teaching moment, as best as we can. We do not do. I'm from a military perspective. I was in the military. My family was in the military. I would love to play taps at night, and I love to play reveille at night. We do not get the inmates up. Their incentive to get up is breakfast is served at 7 o'clock. If they're not up in line at 7 o'clock, they don't get fed. So we kind of use that for an incentive. 10 o'clock, the lights are out. The lights go to a night light system, and that's when we have our quiet time, and they're expected to be quiet in their housing units in their bed. So, but as far as a reveille or timeout, they know what it is. But if they want to spend all day sleeping in their bed, they can spend all day sleeping in their bed. That's part of their right. So sometimes I think people need a little structure, and
They do.
one of Lucas's big projects this last year was, if you were familiar with the basement area of the kitchen, it had 2 big walk-in coolers. They were the original ones in the building. They were having a hard time keeping up. So Lucas, he contracted out, and they had new freezers, new walk-in coolers, the freezers and the coolers installed. That was about a $70,000 project. It was just the repairs and the maintenance to keep them going. They outlived their purpose. You know, you're talking 50 years old. One of the big projects Lucas was involved in was the tuck pointing of the building. Obviously, if building's built in 1963, it has some maintenance issues, and we needed to address those last year. We did some major tuck pointing that was kind of about 10 years in the making, and we found out there's a cost to putting off those repairs. It deteriorated worse than what was originally thought, so obviously it runs into more costs. I think Lucas, maybe the next project here in his 10-year plan is windows. It's still the original windows in this building, so we're starting to lose some efficiency there, obviously. So Lucas he's done a good job. He took over buildings and grounds director about 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago.
I remember that.
So he's doing a real good job.
The LED lights you mentioned.
Yes, they are. We're going through the process now. Next week they're going to start, Lucas and his staff have started with the low overhead ones, and then we have to bring in a contractor to do the high ones because they have to do some rewiring in those codes. So it's thousands of dollar project. When we talk about maintenance out here, Lucas is the director of the courthouse and the sheriff's office. We only have 2 full-time maintenance / janitors for the administrative side. So those guys are busy. They are very busy all the time. So, but we'll go ahead and go on to into the courtroom, and we'll kind of go from there. This is the courtroom. If you happen to be a visitor out here, if you're arrested, this is where you're going to start kind of the process. So this is where you see the judge. You'll see the TV with the camera. It is all through a video court. This is where they're explaining their criminal charges and how to obtain if they qualify for legal representation. Everyone is housed in the booking area on initial intake. They're brought down here. They're seen by the judge, and then they're taken back to the booking area and either processed into the facility or they're released out of the facility. So I think we'll go ahead and go back into the booking area, and there'll be a lot of conversation in that area. Hopefully it's fairly quiet. Unfortunately, that a lot of our long-term or individuals that are processed into the facility, they have medical needs that we're required to take care of. I commend our medical staff. They do a lot of time doing a lot of scheduling, making sure their needs are met. They do rounds 2 times a day, in the morning and the afternoon, and they do anything from to pass Tylenol medications to do psychiatric appointments. We try and schedule those through video. And removing sutures, anything that you can imagine medical on the outside of this facility, it happens inside this facility, except for specialty needs like x-rays or special technical equipment. We have to transport that inmate to another facility to take care of that. Trying to think what else on the medical portion of that. I'll think of it as we go. This is still part of the original building. This is the jail administrative area. Like I said, the nurses. This is the staff locker room. This is where they report for duty. They change into the uniform, and then they go up into the briefing room for a debrief at the end of the shift or a briefing at the beginning of their shift. My office is down here off to the left. Do we have anybody that that likes ghosts?
Yeah, see what?
You never know. Someone may well confirm or deny this for me. The jail administrator, my office, was actually the medical director's office. That was her dorm or his dorm. The story is she had a nephew that came to visit several years ago. And the nephew was out on the grounds, and that nephew had actually had a fatal accident where that nephew got ran over by a tractor. So kind of the story goes that the nephew wasn't supposed to be here, is one of the things, because it wasn't supposed to be on the county property. So the story goes that we have inmates this day, they ask, who brought their child in? Who brought their kid in? There's no kids, no children here. Up in our minimum area, we have inmates that say they swore a child was trying to wake them up. They could hear laughing. They could hear little footsteps running throughout the halls. It may be what it is. My office, when I was a task force director, was on the 3rd floor. And then, of course, a lot of, you may know that that's kind of where the morgue area was, or the medical director's area was at. There was times where I'd be working in the middle of the night, and you'll notice when some of these doors open, you'll hear a clunk. Those are magnetic locks. You have to have a special, an authorized key, a magnetic key to get in those. There's been a lot of nights where I've been up in the middle of the night and I hear a door open and I hear footsteps. I go out to see if it's jail staff walking through, or one of my partners happened to come help me out, and nobody's there. So, when we end the tour, I'll have you guys look at something. Lucas, I had never noticed it before, and Lucas said he knew it as soon as he started, but there's an image I want you guys to look at and tell me what it is. But when they were building the facility, some of the first jailers that were out here, we did house a few jailers out here kind of transitioning from the old jail to the new jail. There's pictures. Sheriff Comanches actually has a picture from our security system. When the old building was out to the south, there was a jailer doing rounds, security rounds, and he'd seen a woman in the building wearing a white dress. There's a picture of it. Sheriff Comanches has it. The jailers, they were calling for deputies to come, basically search the property. Nobody was in the building. So, I don't know it for sure, but from what I've been told from some of the older staff that come, that worked at the care facility, that toured this, there was original county care facility here, and it actually burnt at one point, and several lives were lost in that building. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm hoping to do some research on that because it's very interesting. So okay, am I kind of on the right track where it had burnt? Okay, so the big thing is, and I actually got video from probably a couple months ago. It looks like a bird flies from this door to the, and it's all on video. So I'll have to get it for you to show it sometime. But we have some staff that, they get kind of nervous walking here at night, and then we do have some staff. We are an agency that is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Even in inclement weather, we have 3 shifts, and a lot of times if there's inclement weather, we'll hold shift staff over to fill those staffing needs. We do have some staff members that will not stay in this building. They will not go to sleep in this building. So it's kind of
women or men?
Both. We both of them. We do have a couple male jailers that they're big boys and they're scared of ghosts. They will run.
But they won't sleep in this building? No,
That's right.
The new building?
The new building, that's correct. That's correct. So,
That's funny.
but remind me when we go out here, I'll show you guys something that it kind of blows my mind a little bit. So, okay, Shannon, you want to come on through? That's okay. This is Shannon Wildman. She's one of our shift supervisors. So,
Well, are you afraid to stay in this building?
no, I'm not. No, my office actually was up next to the morgue area, so they say that's part of the reason for the activity up there. But it's kind of neat. It's kind of neat.
Good story.
I've never seen anything.
Yeah. And some people, there was nobody around. I know those doors opened up and I could hear footsteps. So, but it's what it is.
Museum, though, it was a halfway house for a
Yes.
while.
Yeah.
So people have said, oh, yes, haunted.
Yeah. So it's kind of neat. We'll go on. We'll go into the intake area, the booking area, and we'll keep on moving. But with the medical administrators, that's the only thing I can come up with. That was a child running around. That's the only thing that I can think of. We'll slide on through, guys. That's fine. You never know what's going to walk through the door.
So when we process them, like, this is also where we're going to do what we call a, we're going to do a doors. We're going to check on them. We're going to look at them physically, make sure they're not hiding anything. Some parts of their body.
Is he watching you to unlock the door? That's why you know.
You're on camera as soon as you walk in there. And they watch me a little bit more because I'm the boss. So, Jonathan,
Missed the football game.
All the Packers are gonna win anyway.
That guy looking at us, is he one that's a prisoner?
Yes.
Packers and Bears.
That was an actual cell there?
Yes.
I mean, they're
Yep.
not the bars,
Well,
are
we won't go around to the back side because I'll kind of talk a little bit about the cells here. If you guys want to look out door 412, that is what we call our sally port. It's directly to our north. There's an exit sign. That is where the officers come in with their prisoners. It is enclosed. It's in a controlled environment. Sheriff Comanche's seen that having something like that in a controlled environment lessens the risk of injury to the officer or a prisoner that decides to take off. But this is kind of where it starts. The officer comes in, comes through 412. We have jail staff immediately make contact. They are, like I said, patted down for any weapons. All their property is inventoried. Anything that can cause harm to themselves is removed. Belts is taken off. Their shoes are taken, obviously with shoelaces. Women that have the metal undergarments and the brassieres, those are removed. Wedding rings and any piercings that have to be mechanically removed, they can keep those. If they're staying here over 24 hours, that is all removed except for religious wedding rings taken. And it's all inventoried. They signed for it. It's put in the inmate property and into the booking area. This is, to come into this facility, you have to have a criminal charge. That's the state code. A lot of times we have some judges that try and have us enforce civil commitments. A lot of those civil commitments have to do with mental evaluations. That is a civil commitment. We cannot hold them in a correction facility or in a jail. So a lot of times we have to educate the judges on those processes. If you look all the way down the hall, that's one of our interview rooms, and that's also what we call our OWI interview room. If someone's under the influence of alcohol or narcotics, we have the testing equipment and the area to where they can perform tests. You'll notice that these two cells, we use those for violent, combative individuals or suicidal subjects. We can go around to the front to make sure there's no one in the one cell.
For somebody who comes in OWI or?
No, this right here is what we call a restraint device. If we have someone that's trying to hurt themselves or someone else, we have the ability to make sure that they are restrained in a humane manner. It's not with metal bars, it's with cuffs. You notice it's on wheels and it's bolted to the floor. They actually try and move the chair around. If an individual finds himself in this chair, we can move them around and say if they have to go to medical. We've had individuals that are combative that we have to take them in front of the judge. So we'll take and wheel them down to the courtroom and they'll see the judge. Anything that you guys see in this jail, our staff has to be certified in. Jailers actually have to be put into this device to get part of their certification. So anything that you see in here, we have tasers. They carry tasers. They have to actually have an exposure to a taser to be certified to carry one. We have what we call pepper spray, OC. They actually have to be exposed to that. So there's a lot. Anything that they can do to an inmate or they have to deal with, their tools they have to actually experience themselves. So, and we'll go ahead and move on into the booking area. This is one of our cells that we use. We use this for either combative or suicidal. You notice the room is pink. The pink is supposed to be soothing. Yes. Unfortunately, we have some people that like to damage some stuff. But you'll notice that the only thing in there is a drain. That is their restroom, unfortunately. We see it all come in here. We have one guy that likes to take his feces and wipe it all over, and it's just... We have to realize as citizens that that's not normal. There's something wrong. We try and provide them the services to correct their behavior. We had one guy, he would take his feces and rub it all over the walls. he got the correct medical attention that he needed. It took about 6 months. Like I said, we had to get a court order. He had to be evaluated, and the judge had to order him on a specific medication. That guy you could sit down, you could have a conversation with, you could take him out to lunch, and you would never know it's the same gentleman. And he goes on to
You
be...
can't restrain them, can you?
What's that?
Can you restrain them?
If they are hurting themselves or others or damaging property, we will restrain them. We use the chair, not a lot, and obviously there are certain requirements once we do utilize that. After spending about 30 minutes in there, in the chair of them constantly fighting, it usually wears them out, and it kind of releases their energy. Another apparatus we use is the restraint board. This board, as you can see, it's got the restraints. We can actually move that, carry it to different units. Like I said, jail staff are actually exposed to that, and so they realize what it does to an individual, and they monitor them so they know, okay, in about 10 minutes I'm going to be wore out, and they give them water. I mean, they give them everything they need to make sure they're healthy and taken care of. But these two cells, they're basically used for our suicide cells, or our combative or violent individuals that come in to the booking or intake area. 426 over here is more or less our, we call it our a drunk tank. Somebody that's intoxicated, that just having a bad day, and they found themselves out here, and they're not really causing any problems. We can hold multiple people in that cell. You'll notice you have the plastic things here on the floor. This is a boat. That is their bed that they sleep on in this area. They're not too bad to sleep on. They really aren't, but that is their bed. They're given blankets. You'll see the gentleman in 425. He's wearing a Kevlar suit. That gentleman had made accusations of suicide. So we have to take those precautions. So what happens is the nurses place him on suicide watch, and we monitor him every 15 minutes to make sure that he's not trying to hurt himself, and we'll take care of him, and then the doctor will do that. So,
Nobody ever gets a mattress down here.
no, unless it is ordered by a physician or nursing. So if we have a pregnant a female comes in, or somebody that has a medical problem, say with the back, we'll prescribe them a mattress, and they can have a mattress down here. So it depending. A lot of times with the pregnant females, what we'll do is we'll...
Come to this area too, the booking?
Yes, everybody comes in here. Anybody comes through here. We'll like triple and quadruple stack those, so it's easier for them to get out. So we take their medical needs into account. It's just so. And it all kind of starts here. You get booked in, you sit on the red chair, you stand on the X's, get your picture taken. You go through about 30 minutes of questions that have to do with medical, personal history, and make sure they know that what their charges are. They get copies of their charges so they understand that. If we walk over here, fortunately, we are one of the first agencies that received what we call the APHIS system. What this is a digital machine. This runs about $80,000. What this does, instead of the old fingerprints where you have to take and roll them and get ink, what this is, it digitizes them, and it automatically submits them. Once they meet the requirements, it sends them down to the Department of Public Safety, and it's run through an APHIS system. That means if you committed a burglary and those fingerprints have been captured at a crime scene, this is kind of what we talk about our CSI. So when we have jailers come in, I let them know that yes, you have detectives, you have police officers that do those criminal investigations, but when it comes to DNA, we take DNA for certain offenses. When it comes to fingerprints, this is kind of where it starts. If you get a good fingerprint, a lot of crimes are solved with this machine here at the county level within the jail. Like I said, certain offenses, certain aggravated offenses and felonies require DNA. Our jail staff actually take the DNA swabs and they send it into DPS, Department of Public Safety, where it's logged and coded in their system. So this is kind of where everything begins when it comes to major crime solving cold cases. It's been a couple years, but I think to date there's been over 58 crimes solved at the county level, major cold case crimes solved since the implementation of APHIS system and DNA. So it's ever changing. And then we have additional cells. If we go back around in the corner, that's where we have our federal hearings with our federal judges. The judges are actually in Omaha. I think there's a couple out in Washington, D.C. Our federal prisoners will have their initial appearances in court proceedings here by visitation with federal judges. And then if you'll notice, when we go back down the hall, we also have attorney visitation rooms off to the south here. But this is kind of where the whole process starts, coming into the jail. And after the court proceedings, you'll come back here, you'll be released from this area, or you'll be taken into general population or into the population of the jail. So we'll go back around where we came out through the big doors. And this is this is kind of the stage, this is where reality hits individuals that are being held. This is where they're changed out, their clothing is taken from them, it's washed, and then it's stored in their property, so that at least when the individual is released, they have clean clothes. We do have people that come to jail without no clothes, but we do have donations that we try and match those people up so they do have something to go home with. They're given a shower, and then from there, you guys can step on in here. This is kind of our supply room. We actually have inmates that actually do the laundry. And there are certain requirements. They have to be a non-violent offense. We try and make sure that they've already been sentenced. They're just serving time at the county jail. This is our supply room. This is what they're issued. We have anywhere from their bedding to sandals. They're given sandals, and then if you notice the black and white stripes, that's how we identify our trustees. Those are inmate workers. So whenever they're moving through the facility, we know what they're wearing and where they're supposed to be. Otherwise, inmates wearing orange, and their undergarments are purple. And you may ask why they're purple. When the facility was first opened up, we realized that people were leaving with our white t-shirts and socks. If you could about imagine, say, even at 150 jail population, by code we issue them 2 pairs of socks, at $5 a pair. That starts to get kind of expensive after a while. So we came up, we dye everything purple. That way we know it's ours before they leave. And then also there's other facilities that dye their undergarments a different color. So we know kind of, if we receive a prisoner from another jail facility, we know that clothing goes back to that facility. So from there, they're given their standard hygiene. That's what issued kit, which is a toothpaste, toothbrush, a pencil, a comb, and a soap, bar soap. And then obviously with our inmate workers, we do rely on tennis shoes. They do have to have closed-toed shoes. We do have people that volunteer and donate shoes to us, and then we do have staff that actually go out to garage sales and they'll purchase it on their own so the inmates have something to wear. So our staff is very generous. When we talk about this many people, and it's just such a variety of how long they stay here. We do have libraries in each one of the housing units, and if you could imagine, if you're here for 2 years, you can go through a lot of reading material. So we actually have staff that volunteer to be librarians. They rotate out the reading materials, the books. They go to the Marshalltown Library. They purchase it with their own money. Books, they go to flea markets and they get stuff donated to them just to kind of recycle the reading material. And for the inmates. So reading glasses is another big thing. We do have some individuals that come here, they don't have reading glasses and they have a difficulty reading. We get donations and we provide them with those glasses. So very generous staff. They take care of individuals. And these are our blankets we talked about. If someone wants to harm themselves, they're Kevlar. You can't rip, tear, you can't do anything with those.
We see them in
Yes, yeah. And what we do is if we have somebody that doesn't like to keep their clothes on or tears them up, that's the main reason we take the clothes from. They tear them up and they use them for a rope or a noose and hanging material. So we give them these. They're Velcroed, so it protects them and it gives them a little bit of dignity so they can cover themselves up. So those seem to be about the best that hold up. We do have some people that have chewed on those, but it takes quite a bit to get those destroyed. But they work very well. From there, once they're processed, they'll be going into male max or female, depending on their gender. And then that's where they start to go through their levels, the 5 different levels. If you've been at this facility before, which we unfortunately we do have recurring clients, that if there hadn't been any disciplinary actions or any sanctions against you, depending on what your charge is, you can start out at, say, a level 3. You may be transferred directly into general population. So it kind of depends on our classification officers, how they classify that individual and where they go and how long they're there. A lot of times we have individuals that say, I'm leaving here, I'm never coming back. They refuse to clean their cells or they damage property. Those sanctions go with you. So if you damage property, you are charged for those damages. And then, of course, the rules violations, where there's sanctions against that. If you violate the rules, there's going to be a penalty. Those people are processed out. A couple months later, they come back. Those still stay with you. You still have to serve those violation sanctions. So, and that's kind of our biggest issue with people damaging stuff. They think they're leaving here and never coming back. But, so they soon find out that their history follows them, and there's a way to deal with that. So we have some individuals here that I don't want to call them frequent flyers, but they're reoccurring inmates, and they have some. Most of them have some substance abuse issues. As soon as they come here, they kind of get some structure in their life, and they become very productive. They become trustees, worker trustees, and they do really good. And then they go out into the public or society, and their addictions kind of take a hold of them, and they reoffend, and they come back, and then we take care of them, kind of get them on the right path, and then unfortunately it kind of seems like a revolving door at times, but we do the best we can to make sure they're on the right path. So we'll go ahead and go on to. We'll go on down what we call the Main Street, and if you could not videotape when we go down the Main Street, and then we'll end up in control. So this is where the divisions rely on each other. We have Patrol Division that obviously is out patrolling the county. One of their duties is to pick up medications for the inmates. We have them treat that as a call for service. So once they're given a directive from the jail staff, medications are ready, they go pick up their medications and they immediately deliver them back to this facility so they can be logged, sorted, and stored and then administered. So it's medications is very, very important. It seems like over the past few years that there's a lot of medications. People are on a lot of medications, and want to make sure their needs are met and they're taken care of. So.
Does anybody ever come out and teach arts and crafts or things like that?
Usually our arts and crafts are limited. We want to control what comes into here as far as materials.
Okay.
We do have, with the juveniles, there is a state program where they continue their education, the high school education. We do have GED, the HSAT program through Iowa Valley Continuing Education. We do make that available for the inmates that want to continue.
Mm-hmm.
If they make that incentive to get their degree, their college or high school equivalency or their GED, we want to make sure they continue on that path that they get the education that they need. So we try and work with the school system. Right now, West Marshall is our provider for our juveniles to make sure they start that program. So unfortunately, in a county jail, the problem that we run into is we just don't know how long they're going to be here. So if we kind of have an idea, we make those arrangements to get them set up with an educator. We kind of have an idea who's going to be here a little bit longer than some.
So how does my friend, she comes out and gives jail ministry, how does she
Yes.
do that?
What we do is we have volunteers. We put them through like a little bit of a training, what to do, what not to do, what to look for, and to make sure they're safeguarded. And then we have classes. They come out, especially with the religious programs. We do have a chapel that they come and they can educate our population for their religious needs to make sure they're being met. So. Yeah, it's we rely a lot on volunteers. They're always welcome. They're always welcome to come. We're kind of at the far end. We'll cut the lights out here in just a minute, and we'll let you guys look into. What we'll be looking into is the male general population area, and then I can kind of explain a little bit. You'll notice a red line. Inmates are not supposed to cross that red line unless they're instructed by the housing officer. And you'll see where the housing officer is positioned. It's divided up into a north and south. He controls both halves. So
we get to see.
You'll get to see that as soon as.
We get to see the inmates.
Yeah, we won't go down in the inmates. This is a one-way glass. They'll be able to see shadows, but they can't see us.
Yeah, I don't.
And as soon as Lucas. And a lot of this is, if you come to jail, we have a lot of requests for your records. We still have records from the person that was ever incarcerated in Marshall County. So we do have, we are tasked with that as records management, the records keeping. We do have some of the old leather-bound books that are very interesting to go through, and where people would pay their fines. I think one of the records that I was looking at, that he was charged, he actually had stole a horse, and he was to pay restitution, and the sheriff was tasked with documenting the repayment process. And I think it was $10 at the time, but it's kind of neat. They could look through that stuff. And a lot of times we'll get requests from family members looking for, say, a grandfather or a father that may have, been in our area that made a bad choice, and so they look for records, and we try and help as much as we can.
And
But,
so where are those?
those
Jailbreaks over the years?
no, unfortunately, knock on wood. Knock on wood. We have not had an escape. And I'd like to keep it that way. You hear a lot of times where people talk about, oh, this person is escapee from a facility. A lot of times what that is I have to classify if someone is granted work release. That means they go out, they're in here, they're released in the morning, they go out on their job site, they decide not to come back to jail. That's considered an escape. They didn't actually break out of jail. One thing that is kind of a misconception with the public is, if you look at our fence, we have a fence all the way around the facility, but if you look at it, the barbed wire is actually facing out. That's to keep people from coming in. It's kind of a joke, but it is. That's the way it is. We do with, I talked a little bit about our health with the air exchangers, about the air exchange 6 to 8 times every hour. One thing that we do here that people don't realize is we shelter in place. If there's a tornado, this is the place you want to be. I mean, these walls are 3 feet thick. This is where you're going to be at. Only issues that we have, obviously, is with fire, and then we have certain procedures, and staff are trained. They go through fire drills each month, and then from there we have to take precautions for a fire. And we've had fires. Christmas morning, I think there was one. It usually happens on a holiday. A lot of times it's something like a dryer may catch on fire that we didn't catch, or belt slips. It always happens at the inopportune time, but our staff are trained monthly. They are fire certified once they go through certified through the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy as a jailer. They are fire certified, so we rely on our staff a lot. We want to make sure our training keeps up. But fires is something very hazardous in a correction facility, obviously with all the wiring and the needs and the population. So we're getting ready for bedtime is what they are. You'll see the housing units. There are 4 housing units on each end. Each one holds 9 inmates. There's an upper and a lower level. If you'll see right in the middle between the north and south, that's where the housing officer, that's his post, that's his duty station. He controls that whole unit. And right behind him is what we call a recreation area. They can go in and play basketball if they're not on discipline, handball. Also, that's where they get their fresh air. We have what we call vents, and fresh air comes in and exchanges also. So it kind of gets them a little bit of feeling outdoors. You'll notice the skylights, they're in place to let natural light in. And then the north and south each one has their own library, activities room. There's puzzles in there, all kinds of reading material. And you'll see the red line. At times during exercise, you'll see the inmates walking that line. It's what they call walking the line. That's where they start, they just basically lap. That's kind of where they get their exercise to kind of vent off some of their frustrations. All right, we'll go ahead and head on out, guys, and don't forget to show you our ghosts. And that door should open up.
That door, somebody else opened it for you?
Yes. That person sitting up at the control, he opened everything for me.
Where's the camera?
Do you have a way of signaling?
Is there a camera up here somewhere?
It's all. There's not a square inch that's not covered by video. Most of our cameras are just video. They don't have any audio to them. So, and that's some of the upgrades that we're working on. A lot of things that we're running into is with the improvement of digital is the storage and the capacity. You know, we always want to retain that documentation, and this whole question on how long do we hang on to that. You know, we may have an incident that we don't know about, and it may reported 3 months ago, and we got to go back and research that. So data storage is obviously something. We got everybody?
Yeah.
All right. If you guys look down to the hallway at that door, that's one of the original doors at the county care facility. Can you tell me what you see in that door?
Lots of faces.
Oh, sure.
And is that it?
That's it. Sorry for the disappointment. But
Oh, I was gonna say something floating.